right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Digging Deeper. If you're watching, hello. If you're listening, hello. My name is Ben.
Lots of hellos there, buddy.
I know. This is...
Hey, Ben. Hello.
So this voice that you are listening to is Ben. I'm the worship pastor here at Rise City, and today we've got Anthony, our youth pastor, with us, and we've got Brandon, our lead pastor, with us today. And last week...
I'm the old guy today. I'm the old guy today.
I don't know what to say. No? Yes?
Yes,
no,
definitely.
Father figure.
Yes, father figure.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. It's about time I got the respect.
Yes. Well, this past weekend was a very special weekend. It was the Christmas offering.
Yeah.
And so we want to talk a little bit about that today on today's podcast. And the reason that it's me and Anthony here today is that this is our first Christmas offering with Rise City.
Okay.
I started in January, so just after last year's Christmas offering, and then Anthony
June. Started.
COVID through the summer.
Yeah,
and
end of
it
June.
really started pretty much in August.
July was literally split. 2 weeks of camp, 2 weeks of COVID. So
and so I got to see some of the leftover and that spilled into the new year from last year's Christmas offering. And then we've both gotten to see just the ramp up with the 10 for 10, all that kind of stuff this year. But we really wanted to ask you the question just so you can give us context, but then also I'm sure there's a lot of people that are listening.
There are a lot of people. This is one of the first years for them to be a part of the Christmas
in the same boat as us, that we would just love to get more context, info, some of the backstory, the heart behind why it is that we're doing this, how it's kind of gotten to here, because I would say, and I bet you would say too, like coming in, it just seems like this incredible, amazing thing that's happened for forever. And we're just standing on the shoulders of the work and the history that's gone before us. And so tell us a little bit about that history. Why did it start? How did it start? And
Well, this year's the 10th one, which was pretty special. And this actually, though, started way before, more than 10 years ago. So I was a college pastor before moving out here to start the church. And I remember when I first started college ministry, one of the verses that just struck me was, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And I remember just thinking about like how in that verse, if I were to take that literal, right? Like that I would want 50% of this, or 25% if there's 4 people, or 10% if there's 10 people. And like, what does it look like for a church to be able to literally do that? Like, so like if 50% of what money is given stays with the church, then to love others as you love yourself, then also to give 50% away. And so I was always wondering, like, is it possible to someday have a church that gives away 50% of their income? But I was working with college students. And so my first attempt was like, okay, well, college students don't have any money anyway. Yeah. So let's just, and we were fortunate to have a budget from a larger church. And I said, so let's just have an offering with college students and see how much they can give in one single setting. And they're the underdogs. And so we set a goal when I was a college pastor for this one offering. We called it the undeniable offering because we wanted to see people see it was undeniable how to be from God. If college students could raise $100,000 in one service. Wow. And we had about 300-400 college students, and we ended up having 78,000 come in. Mm-hmm. And there was a part of this kind of anticlimactic, like, oh, we missed it. It was like, are you kidding me? It was a goal. We did $78,000 from a bunch of ramen eating students. You know what I mean? Are you kidding me? We remember bought a car for a single mom and drove it into the service. I mean, it was amazing. Wow. And so then when it came time to, like, when I moved out here to start the church, that offering really, for me, showed like when people come together and have a mission and are kind of have this collective mindset that we can do this all together. Like I just said, I want that to be a staple of Rise City Church. And so you start getting the pragmatics of like, well, I don't know if yet we can give 50% of the offerings away, but there can be at least one offering where everything is given away. Mm-hmm. And we also have these bins that every Sunday we say, always bring something, right? So you're always considering somebody else when you come to Rise City Church to bring a box or canned food item. So there's these things that we've said that built into our worship, we want to be considering others. And so the Christmas offering really was catalyzed from that college offering. And the first year that we had it here, we had funded the start of a church plant in Bolivia. And a lot of that money came by way of money I had raised to start the church. But I wanted the church to be a part of like contributing. Yeah. And so we set a goal for $10,000 to support just the infant mortality rate that was going on in Bolivia with moms that didn't have adequate health care, stuff like that. And for $10,000, it could be highly impacting to lots of mothers in that area. And the church rallied and gave $16,000, and that kind of set off the tone from then on. And so we've always, since then, for 10 years said, we aim to try to give roughly off our budget about 12%, but when you add the Christmas offering, we give as a church close to 20+% away of what comes in. So someday, I hope 50%.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But this offering is 100% is given away. And so that's the long backstory. So it's about 15 years in the making.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think is cool about it, again, like Ben said, this was my first Christmas too, Christmas give back, Christmas offering. And what I really liked, and I told you this kind of before yesterday even started, but just the energy before Sunday. Like the last month, it wasn't, oh, Christmas Day is coming up or Thanksgiving's coming up. It was like, we're a month out from give back. And people started to get so excited. And one of the things that I think takes generosity to the next level is not just saying, hey, every single cent you give, we're going to give out to the community, but saying we're going to give it to this organization and this organization and this organization, and then opening up the doors to nominate people. I mean, it does not get more personal than that. And so I think it was super cool to hear that you kind of started that way. What is like it kind of in your eyes, where did that come from in you? Like versus just saying, hey, we want to take it and give it and like see what you have and then see how you can impact people, versus like preparing ahead of time and saying, these are the organizations we want to back. These are the people we want to impact with this offering.
Yeah. I think there should be a strategic nature to giving. Yeah. And there's always a possibility, because people give really a lot of times out of emotion too. Definitely. When there's some type of a tragedy that hits or a natural disaster, people are quick to give to that. But if we really want to I think make difference long-term and even create partnerships, then it has to be some foresight to it. And so, we kind of do both here, we people give out of different pockets. And what I mean by that is there are people that, God willing, that everyone would choose to give consistently to the church on a regular basis. But there's also people that they have different things that really compel their hearts. They really care about the widow or the orphan, or they're really passionate about church planting. They're really passionate about, you name it. And we always have people, or I always have people come to me saying, hey, I really want the church to do this, or I really want the church to be about this. And I don't think it's the church, and I mean by small C church, right? C church, we can't fund every single passion that people have, although a lot of those passions are holy. And so the Christmas offerings become a way for us to say, but we can with this one figure out different ways in which we can be a part of those passions of people. We can help people give from a different pocket. And by strategically looking in advance what those are, it helps not just prepare people so they can be ready to give, but it also helps educate people. So it might actually create a new passion inside people of a need that's out there that they weren't aware of. Because the kingdom, has so many endeavors that need funded, and but I don't know if we're called to fund every one of those. I think the Big C Church can, but I also love the fact that I think the church it's people.
Yeah.
Right. And so to have this category where people nominate others, whether it be organizations or individuals, they see could have an extra blessing, it really is saying this is the church. This isn't just the leadership of the church, but it's we together coming together to give like this. And I don't know. It's a lot of fun to see how it's all transpired.
Yeah, and you talked yesterday about the joy that comes with generosity, and you talked a little bit about joy in general. And one of the things that I found probably my favorite part of the day was in the first service, I got to sit through it. Second service, I brought in some middle schoolers who were going to give, and we came in a little bit early. So we were in there right when you were starting kind of the opportunity,
with the
open mic opportunity, and seeing these. I mean, we had a little bit of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders at that point. All of them just standing there and watching the people on open mics and then looking at everyone else. Like people were holding back tears as they were talking into the mic, but then seeing the smiles on everyone else, it's like they weren't even in control.
And that moment went way better than I hoped.
Yeah.
And I was scared to death of that moment also. I know we talked about that, like, oh man, we're just gonna walk around the microphone. But it was beautiful.
It was.
There were stories that people shared yesterday that I wasn't even aware of. And so it was really cool to hear the way that it's not just impacted those who are recipients, but even those who have given. It's just a beautiful picture, I think, of the church.
Yeah.
So I want to hear a little bit about, just give us some context on this. Has it always been categorized on who can be recipients? Is it like this year we did the 10 for 10 initiative plus our personal
like nominations,
like that. How has that happened leading up to this year? Have we done initiatives in the same way that we're doing now? And then even another thing, how have you actually, as a church, how have we done this where we've actually decided, like, I really want to contribute to this organization and to this situation and to this person in this circumstance? Like, how has that discernment actually happened in the past?
So the major staple of the Christmas offering, at least since we moved into this facility here that used to be Harvest and now is Rice City, has been the nominations category. And that's where people get to nominate people and organizations we'll send a check to this week, and they'll be shocked. And some people are in this area. Some people, like I talked to, like one of the testimonies yesterday was someone who had a grandma whose house was burnt down in the Paradise Fire a couple of years ago. I didn't realize it until after she gave me more context. We sent the check. That family they didn't come to our church. They just found out that their grandma got a check from a church in San Diego. And then 2 years later, they were looking for a church. And they said, well, there's this church that gave money to my grandma whose house burnt down in Paradise, California, in Northern Cal. And now they're here and they're highly active in our church. So the nominations piece has been kind of the staple that we're always going to do that. Because I think that God gives us eyes to see other people, and I can't see everyone, and you guys can't see everyone, but as we give people the opportunity to tell us who's out there that are hurting or this need encouragement, that's just a way to bless. So that's been a staple. As far as major initiatives, I wish this could be more spiritual, in the sense of like telling you I went up some mountain, our team prayed about it, and God said, give to this. It usually is feeling out what opportunities cross our path.
Sure, it's 6 months every year.
It is. So like even the homes in Mexico, that came about because my wife and I took our kids to build a home down in Mexico last Christmas time. And as I was there, it was just like, why aren't we doing this more frequently? And that then transpired, like, is there an organization that's down there doing this? And we've had, the church plant down in Bolivia that really came about initially from, I went on an exploratory trip with Compassion International to see the work that was going on in South America and to figure out that we could not just plant a church, but also then have people in our church support the children. That's how that one came about.
And we built something for like a clean water system there.
Yeah. So we dug wells. So like, then we said, okay, we've got this partnership. So like, what else does this group of people need? And so another year was like digging wells for clean water in that area. Sometimes there's been things that honestly, they're cultural hot buttons, if you will. And just saying, this is our way. So like, for example, and this is, sometimes people want you to say a lot of things about certain cultural issues. And there's a time and a place to do that. But sometimes the way that we speak the loudest is where we send our money. And I mean that in terms of Rise City Church. So we have given significantly to, adoption, foster care, even helping moms have their pregnancy go their longevity, because we're in our hearts. I'm not an advocate of abortion, but I also have compassion and empathy for people who've struggled and done that. And so we'll talk about it, but I'm more absolutely, but we're going to give these other organizations that are doing something about it. And that is our comment. So sometimes there's cultural ones. Sometimes there's, the Lord just intersected our path with the right people. I've asked at times our elders one year, we kind of got around and said, what would this look like? And that's what really came out of when the time we gave it was over $100,000 to other local churches. It was just like, man, look at, God just gave us a free building when we had that merger. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. Not everybody has that story. So like, how can we be a blessing to other churches that might not have a free space and a sizable amount of their budgets being taken by their mortgage payment? And so then we said, let's just go ask churches what they could use. And we gave that money away. So it's different all the time.
Yeah.
But it is trying to walk in step and be sensitive. Okay, God, what would you have this particular year?
Yeah. So we've been doing this for 10 years now.
Yeah.
And you, and I'm sure people listening have seen the ripple effects of, not in a bad way, but in a good way, of the way maybe God has used that consistency over 10 years to maybe change a community or to change, and to do incredible work that goes beyond the walls of our church. What are some of those things that maybe you've seen? I know you already mentioned like families coming in that we never could have expected to come to our church, but maybe even just like for San Diego, for the culture, for even beyond San Diego, like what has that consistency?
Yeah.
What's the fruit of that?
I mean, I think the fruit of it, at least in our local area, and by local, Lakeside, Santee, El Cajon, East County based, the kind of the government principalities, whether that be Chamber of Commerce or law enforcement or some of these other public entities, speak highly of us and have our back. And even helping build a library for a community or giving to school teachers. They see us as an entity that wants to be integrated into what I would say is the prosperity of the city. And so we've just seen really favorable relationships with those groups. And that is actually, to me, is like one of the reasons that I'm so put the scripture into practice. I mean, that came about, Jeremiah 29 says, pray for the prosperity of the city, and if it prospers, then you too will prosper. And so from the very beginning with our church, we've said, let's go to the community officials. Let's ask, what is the dream for this community and the areas that we can rally around that? How can we add value to it? And as we do that, it has brought about just favor. I don't know what to say. It's favor. And there's other things. It's been so exciting to see, like during COVID, the community trusted us to be a food distribution place, and advocated and had people come here to get food, which was big. We, in that season, a couple of our church plants, I feel like the favor extended past East County. Like we ended up helping purchase a truck for another church that then distributed food all throughout San Diego County. Wow. And so there's just things like that when people realize that you have their betterment at your heart and not necessarily a kickback because of that, I think it gains trust. But there's also a part that it does have a kickback that maybe you're not looking for, but it helps give you favor in times where there might be some questions or scrutiny or skepticism.
And I think earlier you mentioned that, it's almost, especially as this thing kind of grows and continues to get some speed to it, it's like, it's almost impossible to reach kind of everyone's needs. Shocking, right? But one of the things you said yesterday that I thought was extremely powerful, and I know there was a lot of powerful things, so it was kind of, not the biggest thing we wanted to hone in on, but the consistency that you're talking about, one of the fruits that's produced is, generosity. It's contagious. And you said yesterday that there's 7 or 8 other churches that are participating or doing their own Christmas give back. So it's impossible to meet the needs of everyone, but how cool is it that is going to, equip more and more people's needs to get met. And so I was thinking about that, and I was just like, that's awesome. And it also, I kind of have like a little bit of a question. I've seen, culture today will tell you, in teenage terms, they say, get the bag. Means get all the money you can, chase the money,
get the bag.
You want all the money,
man,
you want to secure the bag.
What'd you say?
I said that sounds sus.
The youth pastor, I have to throw that out there. But
I'm definitely the oldest one here. I have no idea what you're saying right now.
Neither do I. I've just heard people say it.
But it's all about how much money can you make for you, right?
Okay.
Everyone wants the biggest and best of everything while still being financially stable for yourself. And I was kind of talking about this with Ben even before we started, but is and I'm not saying I believe this, but for someone out there who's a part of Rise City Church and knows that we're entering into a little bit of an expansion with the new building incoming, and I know we already did an offering for that, but can you kind of speak to? You didn't?
No.
I thought we've
never done an offering for anything.
Well, even better then. There you go. So that makes it even easier. That makes the question even easier.
Yeah.
How can we, like, for someone out there who might be saying, well, we give so much to the community, why not, do 50-50, or maybe take this offering and be like, well, let's put this towards our building, or let's put this towards our facilities, or let's give Anthony the biggest paycheck in history.
I feel like that you're asking for a kickback all of a sudden. I don't know.
but seriously, I think it would be so meaningful for the people out there that maybe have had that thought to hear from the lead pastor, why is it that when we're in a season when we know we're expanding, we could still give 100% of the proceeds to other people?
It's a good question. In a similar way, it's probably in line with the question that's asked of us a lot, is like, why are we sending so much money internationally? Like, why are you building homes down in Mexico when we have poor people in our backyard? I would say that the answer to that is because we're not the only ones in God's kingdom. And when we have a myopic, really short view of what matters being just whatever's going to be about us, then I think that we're losing the heart of the King in our lives. And sometimes, you're right, I believe that Jesus talked about, he talks about that the overflow of the mouth is where you see that the heart's actually speaking. So what you hear people say, and I think that an extension of that too is your money. Like he said, where your treasure is or your investment is, your heart will be also. So if I want to make sure that our heart is not thinking that Rise City Church is its own little kingdom and castle,
that's great.
Then the money has to go other places too, because then the heart goes there. And oftentimes people will only give to themselves or give to what they are passionate about or give to their whatever.
Yeah.
And is it any wonder then that churches or people's lives become so insulated and sometimes deemed greedy, because all they've done is made investments of things they're going to prosper from, what they're going to benefit from.
Yeah.
And so I don't want that to be the story of our church. I don't want it to be the story of my own life. And so one of the tangible ways that I direct the focus of my heart is sending my money outside of things that I benefit from, but are in line with what God's heart is.
That's great.
And I just believe that what we've seen in 10 years is, as we've given now, with this offering, I'm sure well over $2 million away.
It's incredible.
We've never had need.
Yeah.
God still provides.
Yep.
God still provides. And, we're not going to I shouldn't say we're not, but we'll give people an opportunity because, they give out of different pockets. So with the exterior expansion project for the youth building, we'll give people an opportunity to give to that. But we've also got, we're going to be putting close to $600,000 or $700,000 in cash down because we've saved that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like by trying to be a wise steward, I'm not having to do a capital campaign asking you to give in faith. I'd rather you give in faith through the Christmas offering and see that impact now. And the money is going to come in for that building. And if it's not, then we won't do it.
Awesome.
Right? If it's not there, we don't do it. And I just think a lot of it's like a tangible way to get your heart in alignment with God's heart.
It's great.
One of my favorite things about the Christmas offering, and I haven't actually seen the real-time tangible effect of it yet, except for what I saw is kind of the tail end of last year, the Homes for Hope kind of stuff, is that idea of all of the collateral effect that it has that we will never see, that we'll never know. And even just assuming what's going to happen with even our 10 for 10 initiative, it could be easy to want to take the credit and say, well, Rise City Church is giving to all these things and is advancing the gospel. But the reality is yes, it might be the people of Rise City Church that are all contributing and making this happen, but it's individual people and now organizations that are going and taking the work of whatever God wants to do way beyond anything that we could ever even think of. There are going to be stories that happen that, we'll never know.
So true. But I picture that Bruce Almighty movie. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And there's that scene where the file cabinet comes out and knocks him out.
Exactly.
And as opposed to that being a track record of how bad you are, I think that was the point of that movie. But but I just wonder if heaven doesn't look like, let me show you all the ways in which when you were faithful, this is what I was doing behind the scenes with that faithfulness.
Yes.
And it's just endless, and it's going to cultivate such praise and joy. Like, oh my goodness, God, I had no idea that you did this through this. Even in spite of me, I gave to it, but maybe I didn't even want to. I did, but look how you used that.
And another one of the most powerful things for me is, obviously as the youth pastor, my focus is on the next generation, and to see the adults give just not only like filled me with joy, but I was like consumed with so much hope that the next generation is going to, especially here at Rise, will see their parents prioritizing this opportunity to give to other people. And I started to think, like, imagine what these middle schoolers are going to do in 15 years. Yeah. When they were raised in this culture of, we're going to give to other people. Yeah. And I got a little taste of that in service with the middle schoolers, but even you shared like about your daughter and a couple of the other kids in church doing their own basically fundraising with the intent to give it all away. And I mean, I know I wasn't raised in church, but when I was 11 or 12, all my money was my money, right? And I wasn't giving that to nobody for no reason. Yeah. And so it's just like, you already see the seeds being planted, and it's like, man, it is just so exciting for me to just imagine what it's going to be like 10, 15 years from now. Can you maybe speak a little bit 50%. To that? Like, right?
I hope.
Yeah. So I know you talked about that, like you want it to be 50%, but is there maybe like, has it ever crossed your mind, like, what's the biggest you could see this giving going?
I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. The biggest, because I think then that narrows how you define impact. If impact is based upon the cumulative amount of money, like, and this is just me, people say, hey, you have little faith. Like, I think we're going to have less money come in this year than last year. And that would be the first time in the Christmas offering that's ever happened. Yeah. And people be like, oh man, your impact is decreased. And it's like, no, that's not the case. Like,
definitely. Yeah.
Because I'm interested in how many people were a part of it. So I want to know the number of people who gave to it. That's and right. If that number stays the same or increases, that to me is like, I'm bought in. The amount can change year to year, because I mean, I've mentioned a lot of people. Last year, there was so much money floating around the economy. There were stimulus checks. The stock markets were crazy. That is not the story this year. Plus, we've had, hundreds of people move out of state. And so, and those represent some just regular givers, some sizable givers. So to me, I just ask God each year, will you fund what you placed on our hearts to do? Awesome. And that to me is meaningful. Like, if someday God allows this offering to, exceed $1 million in 1 year, that's awesome. But if that $1 million came from like 6 people, and then the rest of the church is not really giving to it, it's like, that's not successful. So I think it's trying to see it more comprehensive, robust, and to see all the different variables. And so I'm excited to see whatever that means. So if 10 organizations get $25,000 each, and we're able to give $100,000 to $150,000 away to nominations, but that's less than $500,000 that came in last year, does that make it unsuccessful? Yeah, not absolutely not.
Yeah, the quality lies in the quantity of the people involved, not the money raised or given away.
It's one of the things I'm I guess proud of is our church. Like, even our general giving, we don't have a lot of, like, some people refer to massive givers as whales. Like, man, they just they give 20% of the church's budget. We don't have that. Like, we have a lot of people who give faithfully and steady amounts, and that cumulatively makes the difference for the church budget. But that's how I think we've also been able to weather the storm of having 600 plus people move in 2 years, is because not one person dictated the size of the budget, and not one time in 10 years, even amidst all the transition, has our budget decreased. It's actually continued to increase, and that's because collective buy-in. It's collective buy-in. So, I mean, this is one of those things, definitely, I am most passionate about this of anything. Yeah. For me, when it comes to spiritual growth, God will not have your heart until he has your wallet.
Definitely.
And the more that we can see things through an eternal lens of what actually matters to invest in, I think we miss the beauty of the kingdom. And I got things I'm still working on too. Like I love stuff as much as anybody else and things like that. But I think that one of the other pieces to the Christmas offering is trying to expose people to just lots of ways that people can be impacted.
Yep. Yeah.
And that is always more meaningful than the next, Xbox or car or whatever you're going to buy, and I don't know, all this, I'll probably always remain passionate about it because where your money is, there's your heart. Yeah. So,
well, I'll say from before working here, from the outside looking in, it didn't seem normal. It didn't seem like the kind of thing that I was seeing a lot of other
very true
churches or organizations doing. It just felt very, very like counter to what you would expect to happen. And it was something that drew me in. It was something that made me so excited to be a part of a church that had its priorities in that place of seeing others as valuable and going out into the community and setting the priority of other people above even the needs and the direct needs of the church at that moment. Yeah. It was a beautiful, beautiful example. And now to be here and to be a part of it, man, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's going to happen this year and all the people that are going to be impacted by this and the way that God's going to move in ways that we can't even see are going to happen yet. But we know that it's going to happen. I mean, he's been faithful the last 9 years of doing this. Yeah. And so,
well, I'll get ready to finish with this, but you mentioned the kids, and it means a lot to me as a father. Like I don't want my kids to give in to this life, that life is just about them and the stuff that they have. And to see them, and to see the kids of this church. I mean, we don't have the totals yet, but they may have, 5th grade and under may have given like close to $5,000.
That's incredible.
You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of times people rail on the next generation and they're so self-absorbed and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't want, not the kids at Rice City Church.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be the story. I don't want it to be the story for my kids. And I'm just proud of watching all of them come in yesterday and to sing with you, Ben, and to be a part of it. And I'm thinking about now with my own 4 kids, like, traditions and memories. And I'm like, one of the traditions and memories my children are going to have that I didn't have, but they're going to remember Christmas time equals giving, and Christmas time equals when we rally together and do that, and we hear stories and those things are catalytic, not just for Christmas, but they will become hopefully traits, a part of the kids' lives as they grow older, which will ultimately be favorable for the Church of Jesus Christ and the advancement of God's kingdom. Yep. And so, I think that's a big piece of wanting to keep moving forward in this, because the next generation needs it.
Yeah.
Bad.
And it sounds like it's going to keep moving forward.
I hope so.
50%.
Okay. 50%, which means we all might take pay cuts, but that's okay. No amen to that?
Well, no, it's
just kidding.
Ben will take double. He's going to be generous.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining in today on today's Digging Deeper.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, of course.
If you still want to give,
do it.
It's still available. RiseCityChurch.com/give. Select Christmas offering, and we'll be taking all donations probably for another week or so. And all that you give is given away, and we'll be telling lots of stories, I'm sure, at church and digging deeper to come. But people can definitely still give.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, thanks for joining in. We'll see you next week.